I mean, they really did this. They said, I'm not woke, I'm dark woke. Ooh, scary. I'm a badass, edgy woke person. This is not your grandma's wokeness. This is dark woke. Ooh, scary. You better watch out. I'm dark woke. So Ashley St. Clair is a conservative, former conservative influencer type, who I never knew her personally, but she's in this world.
All right, folks, buckle up. We're diving headfirst into a truly wild ride today. We've got a conservative influencer, Ashley St. Clair, who apparently gone full dark woke overnight. Now, if this phrase alone doesn't make your eyebrow do a full Olympic gymnastic routine, just wait. We're going to break down this supposed transformation, expose the glaring contradictions, and probably spill some tea hotter than a dragon's morning breath. Get ready to question everything, because this story is a masterclass in political opportunism, or maybe just a little bad case of whiplash. Let's get into it and find out.
Or wasn't it? She worked at the Babylon Bee for a while. And funny enough, funny given the most recent development that we'll discuss, but one of the few exchanges that I've had with her was a few years ago when Johnny the Walrus came out. My, of course, critically acclaimed, best-selling children's book came out, and she had published her own anti-trans children's book called, I think, Elephants Aren't Birds. Elephants Are Not Birds. And I guess that book came out shortly before my book came out. And she was mad that my book was getting, a lot more attention than hers, and it had shot to the top of the Amazon charts. So she accused me of stealing her idea, which of course I didn't.
Okay, hold on a minute. So, the first thing we hear about Ashley St. Clair is a tale of professional jealousy. And of course, our esteemed host, the self proclaimed bastion of sanity, was the victim of this terrible injustice. It's almost fascinating how these narratives start, isn't it? It's never about the actual content of an anti trans children's book, which, let's be real, is already a red flag the size of Texas. No, it's about who sold more copies, because obviously the market dictates moral superiority, right? When it comes to how many books are sold, how many copies are sold. And let's not gloss over the fact that anti-trans children's books is a genre that even exists. What kind of message are we sending to kids when we're actively pushing literature designed to invalidate the existence and identity of our children? It's not just disagreeing, it's actively harmful. The idea that a book celebrating diversity or affirming trans kids is somehow stealing an idea from a book that seeks to undermine it is frankly absurd. It's like accusing a doctor of stealing a witch doctor's idea for healing just because they both use books. The entire premise is flawed. This isn't just about book sales. It's about what kind of world we want to build up for our children. One where every child feels seen and loved, or one where we are fighting over what we can do or not do and what we must pay attention to. The fact that the speaker immediately frames this past interaction through the lens of being wronged by Ashley St. Clair, rather than questioning the very existence of such a diverse material for children, tells you everything you need to know about the priorities here. It's a self-serving narrative, plain and simple, designed to set up Ashley as someone who was always a bit off, for lack of a better term, rather than engaging with the actual issues at hand. Kind of sad. Kind of, I don't know, sociopathic.
I had thought of the idea for Johnny the Walrus months and months before, signed a deal for the book, and it's that's the way publishing works. You can't see a book and then decide you want to rip it off and put yours out like a week later. It's not how it works. Books have to be written. Now, granted, this didn't take long to write, but published, printed, illustrated, it takes months, goes into it. But anyway, she backed away from the plagiarism claims pretty quickly. And, since then I haven't had any issues with her. Last year, of course, she announced that she's Elon Musk's baby mama. And, there was a big thing about that, I don't think I ever said anything about it because it's gossip. And what is there to say about it? Announcing it publicly and then doing media profiles and photo shoots and all that, and then claiming you want privacy is pretty ridiculous, but whatever, not my business, not my problem, not my circus. But a lot of conservatives have been very critical of Ashley since all of that, and Elon Musk obviously seems to want nothing to do with her. So recently she's started to move very rapidly to the left, and yesterday she tweeted this. The tweet says, "Dark woke, because the other option is bootlicking feds and pedophiles and nerds." Now, this tweet is pretty dumb. First of all, this is the falsest false choice I've ever heard of. There are a lot of other options. Besides being woke or, quote, bootlicking feds and pedophiles, there's a lot of other options. And second, dark woke is not a thing. Dark woke is a term that leftists came up with to make themselves feel cool. Like this is something that we started calling them woke, and then they came up with dark woke. I mean, they really did this. They said, "I'm not woke, I'm dark woke." Ooh, scary. And it basically means dark woke means I'm woke, but I'm a badass, edgy woke person. This is not your grandma's wokeness. This is dark woke. Ooh, scary. You better watch out. I'm dark woke. And then they pulled out their lightsaber and, started dancing around the room. But of course, there is no way to be a woke, edgy badass. That can't exist. So that's lame. That's pretty dumb. Not worth commenting on. But then someone responded to this tweet from Ashley and said, I think this is a trans activist responded, said, "You've previously engaged in blatant transphobia. How do you feel about trans people in the wake of noticing how the far right truly is?" And she replied to that and said this: "I feel immense guilt for my role, and even more guilt that things I've said in the past may have caused my son's sister more pain. I don't know how to make amends for many of these things, but I've been trying incredibly hard privately to learn and advocate for those within the trans community that I've hurt. I also haven't said much on this because I've gone back and forth over whether my voice would be helpful on the issue, since it will be framed as disingenuous or just turning because I'm scorned. Even this reply will become right-wing hysteria. But yeah, I am sorry. Let me know how I can help." Okay. By the way, when she says son, sister, she's referring to Elon Musk's son, a boy who identifies as trans. And so Ashley is referring to that boy as sister. So she's affirming the pronouns and all that. So apparently Ashley has now officially gone like full woke. This is going from supposedly very right wing to full on as woke as you can be, basically overnight, to the point of embracing trans ideology. And I mean, remember, this is the woman who wrote an anti-trans children's book of just a few years ago. And she was very possessive of it and very proud of it, to the point of accusing me of copying her. And now she's posting that she wants to start advocating for the trans community. And look, I'm aware that her reason for doing this is, must be pure spite against Elon and the right-wingers who criticized her, and also maybe looking for a new angle, a new bit, and all of that. But even so, this is incredible. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen this. Have we ever seen this? Now, we've seen people who pretended to be conservative and then, especially because they hated Trump, and we've seen that, and they went over to the left. Have we ever seen anyone, though? Have we ever seen this specifically? Somebody who was fully on team sanity when it came to the trans issue specifically. Somebody who was outspoken against the trans madness. Team sanity, team biological reality. Have we ever seen someone from that side go over to the other side? I can't think of another example. There have been many converts from team delusion over to team sanity. We've seen it go the other way plenty of times.
Oh, the audacity. Team sanity versus team delusion. This isn't just some false statement. It's a giant flashing neon sign screaming, I am completely unwilling to engage with any perspective that challenges my own rigid worldview. The idea that anyone who understands and affirms trans identities is delusional is not just an insult, it's a dangerous dismissal of live experience, specific consensus, and basic human empathy. It's also a classic tactic. Demonize the opposition by labeling their entire existence as a mental illness or a defect of understanding. This isn't debate. It's an attempt to shut down conversation before it even starts. And the implication that people only ever convert to the anti-trans side, never the other way around, is just chef's kiss for its sheer arrogance and ignorance. Perhaps, just perhaps, people who have previously held harmful views might, I don't know, learn and maybe grow when confronted with new information or, heaven forbid, personal experience like a family member coming out. To suggest that changing one's mind in favor of inclusion and understanding is a move towards delusion is to fundamentally misunderstand what it means to be a compassionate, evolving human being. It implies that you pick a side, especially the right side. You're supposed to stay there, rigid and unyielding, even in the face of new evidence or a deeper understanding of human diversity. That's not sanity. That's intellectual stagnation, wrapped in a cloak of self-righteousness. And frankly, it's a pretty pathetic way to approach the complexities of human identity and human ways of life.
I don't, has there been anyone who's ever left our camp and gone to the women do have penises camp? Has there ever been anyone who has said for years, like, no, of course, biology exists, and then one day said, you know what, actually, biology doesn't exist? You know what, come to think of it, maybe women do have penises. Has anyone ever done that? I don't think we've ever seen it. And to do it now, of all times, is extraordinary. I mean, I said yesterday, embracing trans ideology now of all times, it's like boarding the Titanic an hour after it hit the iceberg. Okay, it's like swimming out to the Titanic and grabbing hold of the railing right before it disappears into the icy depths. Even most Democrats have fled the ship at this. It's 2026. We're way past the height of the trans hysteria. They've already lost. Democrats are embarrassed by it. Democrats are swimming away from the ship, and they're looking over and seeing Ashley St. Clair swim to it, and they're looking back like, what? Where are you going? What are you doing? Oh, I'm getting on the ship. Okay. Have fun. It's amazing. And it's also really wrong. I mean, it's like the people who have been on the pro-trans side the entire time, maybe you can do them the favor. Maybe you can be generous, which I have no interest in being generous to them. Maybe you could be generous and give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just delusional. Like they're just completely delusional, have no idea what's going on, don't understand anything about reality, and are totally confused. If they've been on that side the entire time. Now, I think most of them, that's not true. I think most of them, it's a cynical calculation, which is why so many of them jumped off the ship as soon as it wasn't popular anymore. But if you've been on the side of sanity on this issue, if you've made the arguments, as she has many times, then you obviously know. So to then come out and say, you know what, actually, I'm in favor of child castration, there's like no way that can be anything but the most cynical move I've ever seen. But, if I'm wrong, let's allow, for the sake of argument, that maybe Ashley sincerely changed her mind. Okay. So I have one question for you, Ashley. I asked this on Twitter. I didn't get an answer. I'll ask again. Really fair question. Why did you change your mind? What exact arguments did the trans activists make to convince you that actually men can have babies and sometimes it is okay to chemically castrate a child? Please explain how they persuaded you to adopt those incredible positions. Please explain how you went from knowing that women don't have penises to thinking that maybe they do. What did they say to convince you? What arguments did they make to convince you of this? I think that's the fairest question you could ask here.
Oh, the classic prove it to me personally argument. It's utterly fascinating how some folks demand a step-by-step, bullet-pointed, peer-reviewed dissertation of why someone changed their mind, especially when they change moves towards empathy and understanding. As if personal growth, new experiences, or listening to actual trans people isn't a valid argument. The speaker here is essentially saying, unless you can articulate it in a way that I, the all-knowing arbiter of truth, find convincing, then your change of heart is invalid, cynical, and evil. This isn't about seeking truth. It's about control. It's about maintaining a narrative where their side is the only logical one, and any deviation might be a malicious act of a sign of weakness. What if the argument was seeing the pain of a child? Or let's say realizing the profound joy of someone living authentically? What if it was simple, a drawing realization that denying someone's identity causes immense harm? And that basic human dignity isn't a matter of debate. These aren't arguments in the philosophical sense, but they are incredibly powerful motivators for change. To frame a shift towards supporting trans rights as going over to the side of child castration is not just a grotesque misrepresentation. It's a deliberate attempt to shock and demonize. It's an emotional, manipulative straw man designed to shut down any nuanced discussion. People change their minds for complex reasons, often deeply personal ones, that don't fit neatly into a logical debate format. Demanding a reason why that satisfies your preconceived notions is not fairness. It's a thinly veiled attempt to invalidate someone's journey and dismiss their humanity. It's a refusal to acknowledge that others might possess a capacity for growth that you, yourself, might be lacking.
I mean, that's the fairest. If you come out and it's an answer you owe, I mean, if you're out there public facing, you've made money. I mean, you sold a book, you've made money off of, which is fine. I made money on Johnny the Walrus. But you've been on the side of sanity here. You've profited from it. Fine. If you're going to come out and say, you know what, actually, I want to advocate for the trans community, at the very least, you should be able to offer a reason why. Because I've been dealing with these people for 10 years. I have never heard them present a persuasive argument ever. Ever. I've never heard one of these people who Ashley St. Clair is apologizing to now. I've never heard them make even a mildly legitimate argument for the pro-trans side. This episode is sponsored by Preborn Ministries. During the Sanctity of Life month, we remember the over 67 million babies whose lives have been lost to abortion since Roe v. Wade. But most people don't realize that since Roe was overturned, the situation has actually gotten more complicated. Today, the abortion pill makes up more than 60% of all abortions, which means it's accessible around the clock. But there's hope in all this. Preborn has saved over 400,000 babies from abortion. And right now, they're saving more than 200 babies every single day. Here's how it works. When a woman who's considering abortion hears her baby's heartbeat and sees that ultrasound image, she's twice as likely to choose life. For just 28 bucks, you can sponsor one ultrasound and give a mother the chance to meet her baby for the first time. Every dollar you give goes directly to saving lives. To help, dial pound 250, say the keyword baby, pound 250 keyword baby, or you could donate securely online at preborn.com/Walsh. Again, preborn.com/Walsh. I've never heard one valid argument ever, which is unlike there are a lot of positions you can take that I'll disagree with, but I would still admit that, yeah, okay, that's like there are some valid or interesting arguments you can make for it. I'm not persuaded. I don't agree with it. There are plenty of issues like that where, from my perspective, there's a clear right and wrong side of it. But even on the wrong side, I can see, you can make an interesting argument. But the pro-trans side, there is no interesting argument. There's no good argument. I've never heard it one time. And I've been talking about this for a long time. And I've talked to a lot of people about it. And I've debated this many, many, many times. So what's the argument, Ashley? What did they tell you? What did they say to you?
And there you have it, folks. From anti-trans author to dark woke overnight. Or so the narrative goes. What we've seen today is a masterclass in how some people react when their rigid ideological walls are challenged, whether by personal experience or shifting public sentiment. It's not about genuine engagement or understanding. It's about maintaining a perceived high moral ground. And even if twists mean twisting narratives and dismissing human experiences. Remember, critical thinking isn't just about spotting flaws in other people's arguments. It's about constantly examining our own arguments. Don't let anyone tell you that empathy and growth are delusional. Stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep questioning those who claim to have all the right answers. So tell me, if you found this breakdown cultivating, or if it just made you want to scream into the pillow, hit that like button. Subscribe for more reality checks, and let us know in the comments what you think about Ashley St. Clair's journey and the reactions to it. What's your dark woke superpower? Ask yourself that. Until next time, stay radically empathetic.